Hey guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all doing well. As you can see, I am back home now, so we'll get into a bit more of a regular schedule with these videos. I am moving soon though, so my background's going to change. Hopefully gonna get some new bookshelves so I can have books on this side as well. But that's happening in the next couple of weeks. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to show you a new book I got. Because I don't think I'm going to have an opportunity really to talk about this in another video, but it's really cool. It is the Western Front Diaries of Charles Bean, edited by Peter Burness, and it's published by the Australian War Memorial. So for those who don't know, Charles Bean was a war correspondent, an Australian war correspondent in the First World War, and he went with the Anzac troops, the Australian and New Zealand troops, to both Gallipoli and the Western Front, and he recorded diaries, and he also wrote the official Australian history of the war. And so these are all his Western Front diaries, and that's in this beautiful massive volume, and the volume has beautiful pictures all the way through it, kind of showing you what he's talking about in each of the diary entries. And I'll just show you what it looks like without the dust jacket, sorry. This is what the book looks like without the dust jacket. It's like an old beaten up diary. You've got one of the actual pages here from the diary, and the spine looks beautiful as well. So that's something I'm going to be working through in little bits and pieces over the next probably few years, I imagine, but that's something I got recently I wanted to show you. Into the video now. We're talking about reading habits today. So I found a list of like reading habits questions. Apparently it was originally from Ariel Bissett. I found the list on Noel Gallagher's video, so I'll just read off them on my iPad here and go through them and answer them. I think it's really interesting. I like watching these videos, seeing how different people read, and see what works for people. So first question is, do you have a certain place at home for reading? And just like I kind of do, I read either on the couch or on my bed. It depends on really the time of day, what else is going on, and just somewhere comfortable to sit is really the most important thing. And apart from that, like it's really not, I don't have like a specific like setup that I have to sit in to read. Next question is bookmark or random pieces of paper. I would say that I mostly use bookmarks now because I have a collection of bookmarks. I don't know, I think people in the UK would know, and obviously people here in Australia know of Book Depository. It's an online bookseller, and when they send you a book, they generally send you a bookmark. Sometimes they forget. They generally send you like one bookmark per package of books, and so I've got a collection of those, and I will use those, but I'm not against using a scrap piece of paper. I have used pieces of paper, business cards, things like that in the past, but yeah, generally a bookmark. Number 3 is, can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or certain number of pages? Again, this one depends. It depends on what I'm reading mostly, and how long like the chapters or sections are. I do try to finish a chapter or section when I'm reading, just because it allows you to see a whole argument or a whole piece of information or whatever in its entirety, and therefore sort of better appreciate what the author's doing. But sometimes the sections are really long, or you don't have a lot of time, or you're tired or whatnot. So I'm not against stopping. I do stop in the middle of a chapter a lot. I do generally try to set a number of pages. I aim for about 50 pages a day in total of my reading. That's not of like any particular book. So that will be made up of generally the book or books I'm reading. We'll get to a question about that, and then any readings I'm doing for my degree, and those are all generally all chapters from books as well. So like the sum of that, I try to get to 50 pages because I feel like I'm reading enough every day. Next one is, do you eat or drink while reading? I drink coffee while I read. So, like often in the mornings, I'll make myself a cup of coffee and go sit down and read. I will drink other drinks while I read if like it's the middle of the day, like water, or if I have a juice or something like that. I tend not to drink alcohol while I read, just because it makes me sleepy and then I can't read. Although there is something to be said for reading a really good fiction book with a glass of whiskey and some jazz on in the background. I did that with A Gentleman in Moscow, probably like 2 years ago at this point. I read that book, and I had an evening where I sat down and did that, and that was quite a nice evening. Next question is multitasking. Oh, I didn't answer the eating part of that. Generally not. Like if I've got like little chocolates or something, maybe I'll like pick on those. But like anything that makes your hands dirty, like it's gonna get on the pages and look gross. So generally not. Number 5 is multitasking, music or TV while reading. I kind of answered this in the last one. I'll sometimes listen to a little bit of music. It's either jazz or music scores, and it has to kind of fit the mood of the book that I'm reading. So if I'm reading a book on the Second World War, I'll put on a Second World War music score sometimes, not every time. I did go through a stage where I had a playlist of stuff that I would listen to while reading like every time, and it kind of got my brain into like a concentration mode, but eventually I found it to be too distracting. So generally not. I don't need it to be total silence, but like I won't sit down and put on a TV and then do some reading. But if I'm like in the apartment and my girlfriend's watching TV, that'll be fine. And then sometimes I'll put on jazz in the background, just really quietly if I'm just like setting a mood. The next one is one book at a time or several at once. I definitely read several books at once. Generally, because I'm reading big books, they can be really long, they can be really slow. And so I sometimes just need something, if I'm getting really bogged down in my big book, I need something smaller and lighter to read. So I'll generally have about 2 on the go, sometimes 3. It just depends. I do try to keep it to a minimum though, because otherwise I'll just be reading 10 books at once and never finish anything. So I do try to keep that to a minimum. And then I also do generally have an Audible book going, and that's something like much less serious that I just like, if I don't have a podcast episode that looks interesting to listen to, I'll pop on my audiobook and like get through books slowly that way. Reading at home or everywhere. Generally, like I said with the music thing, like I don't have I can't only read at home or only read outside, but I generally prefer to read at home just because there's less distractions. I find if I go to like the park or the beach or something like that, then there's just things going on around you, and like I end up watching, like looking at what's going on around, and like I don't get a ton of reading done. And so yeah, definitely reading at home is preferred, or I read better at home than elsewhere. Reading out loud or silently in your head. Definitely silently in my head. I don't know why you would sit there and read out loud. I feel like you would lose your voice pretty quickly, I think, and probably get really thirsty if you're talking for that long while reading. Number 9 is, do you read ahead or even skip pages? This depends on what I'm reading. If it's fiction, I don't. if it's difficult to. So when I read the Richard J. Evans' History of the Third Reich, it's a trilogy. I sometimes just skipped over some of the pages where it was detailing like really gross and disturbing stuff that the Nazis did to various peoples. I don't like to read that, and like you kind of get the gist eventually. But yeah, sometimes I will, if there's like just really nothing interesting happening towards the end of a chapter, I'll maybe just skip to the next chapter or skim the end of the chapter. But I don't know what it means by read ahead. I suppose that's probably more applicable for fiction, if you want to find out what happens or something. But no, generally not. Sometimes I will just like skim sections if I'm not particularly interested, or the point isn't being made particularly well. But it doesn't happen often. Next one is breaking the spine or keeping it like new. I definitely break the spine. I understand the temptation to keep it like new, but I just find it really impractical to try and read without breaking the spine. Like, you've got to hold the book effectively closed, especially if it's a bigger book. Like, a lot of the books I'm reading are 800, 900, 1,000 pages long, and like to try to read that without breaking the spine is fairly difficult to like actually see the words, especially towards the spine. I just can't do it. I did try, like many years ago now, I tried to read without breaking the spine, and just like I can't do it. And then number 11, and it's the last question, is do you write in your books? Generally no. If I do write in them, it would be in pencil. I don't know. I know it's a bit weird, like it's just an object that you own, and you should, like, you can write on it if you want to. But no, I generally don't. I do use sticky notes sometimes, and I'll stick them onto the page and then write on the sticky notes if I really want to take a note in there. But yeah, generally I just find there's not enough space in the book to write, like in the margins to write anything of like real use, and it also then just messes up the book, I suppose. I do mark pages, and I use book darts to do that. So you can buy these on Amazon, or I think they have a direct link, like a website that you can buy them from, and they are these little like paperclip things. So they just slide onto the page and kind of point to the line that you want to mark, and then in like when you close the book, you can sort of feel along the side for each of your bookmarks, and so I use those to mark stuff that I want to come back to. And I've got 2 tins of them. They come in these sets of 125. So I've got the stainless steel set, and I've also got the mixed metals set. And so I've got 2 of these. I'll generally keep one of these in the house somewhere, like probably like near my bed generally, because that's where I read most often. And then I'll put one of them in my backpack. So if I'm out and about and reading, I can mark pages. And so, yeah, I will mark pages with that. And then if I really, really want to write something, which I don't generally, like I'm not reading in that mode generally. If I am reading in that sort of mode, I will either just take a picture of the page, like, and this is generally if I'm doing something for an essay or something that I'm writing and I want to like annotate something, just to like write my thoughts, I can take a picture of the page on my iPad and then use the Apple Pencil to annotate, or get the ebook version and use either Apple Books or the Kindle app and just like highlight and then make my notes in long form. So that's generally how I would take notes on books, but I don't do it all that often. So that's everything on that one. I hope you enjoyed the video. I look forward to making more of these. As I said, I am moving, and so I am getting new bookshelves when I move. I'm going to have a section of the house that we're moving to. It's like a little study nook that I'm hoping I'm going to put all of my books in and have them all on display, because currently these bookshelves actually have 2 rows of books, just because I don't have enough space for all of them. So I'll be able to actually display all of them, and I'll do a bookshelf tour and all those sorts of things. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.